Hey y'all, I'm the Mister, and it's time for tea. Yum. Just hanging out here on a rainy afternoon, and wanted to say hi. I haven't really heard from a whole lot of folks, so I don't know how much of this is going just out into the ether and how much I'm just talking to myself. But it's a rainy day, so why not? Last time we talked a little bit about uh, why public education has failed. And today I want to talk a little bit about what we can do to fix it, or specifically what I'm trying to do to fix it. Spent some time working on the website today, uploaded some information, uh, uploaded a couple of articles earlier this week about organization. And in my teaching strategy, as some of you know, the Gateway Method, we start with organization. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on why we start with organization or why organization is important, because I've already written articles about that. And if you're interested, you can check out the website and you can pull the articles from there, or you can find where I posted them on YouTube or Twitter, or I'm sorry, on Facebook or Twitter. I wanted to go into a little more information about what the Gateway Method is and how the Gateway Method works for people who didn't have a class with me or had the class so long ago that you forgot. The idea of the Gateway Method and the way that I think we can fix public education is to make students independent learners. Now, what does that mean? It means that the student should be able to direct themselves to the necessary information to pass the test or to demonstrate mastery of the learning standards. The big secret is that all of the material that teachers use to plan lessons is readily available. It's not behind some secret paywall or password protected. It's available at the State Department of Education website. In Florida, it's a site called CPalms, but most school districts on the school district webpage can direct you or help you find the planning materials that the teachers use. And y'all, if you've ever looked at this stuff, it is extensive. It is very detailed. It's very clear about what they expect you to be able to do in order to demonstrate that you know what you need to know. There's really no reason that a motivated, properly trained, independent learner could not use those same resources and same materials to teach themselves. And at the end of the day, probably end up with a better education with no indoctrination. So my objective with the Gateway Method is to teach the organizational skills, the information processing skills, and the cognitive skills that you need to be able to learn on your own. I think it's important, if we're going to get away from our dependency on public education, to train kids to transcend the need for a teacher in the front of the classroom. Because think about that for a second. We tell kids to go into a classroom, sit down, shut up, and pay attention. Well, who are they paying attention to? What role does that put the teacher in? If the kid has been trained to sit down, shut up, and pay attention, what happens when the teacher's gone? How do they know what they need to know, and how will they learn it? We're developing dependent learners that will be, if not incapable, then at least struggle with learning as an adult. And the skills that you develop, the learning skills that you develop as a student in school, those are the strategies that you're going to be dependent on when you go to college and try to become an adult learner. One of the strategies we use is Cornell Notes. And Cornell University developed this strategy in the 1940s because kids were having a hard time with college level content. Do you think kids are better able to manage that content now than they were in the 40s? We don't spend enough time in public education teaching kids how to teach themselves, and the Gateway Method is a strategy for overcoming that. It's vitally important that kids develop information processing skills so that they can turn information into intelligence and they can add to their body of knowledge throughout their life. And it's not just about taking notes, it's about processing information into a usable form. So you watch a video that's informative. Well, how do you process that information so that you can integrate it into your existing body of knowledge? You read an article that you think is really interesting and really will help you become a better whatever it is you're doing as an adult. Help you become a better adult, for crying out loud. How do you process that information into a usable form? Well, the Gateway Method teaches those skills. Information processing skills are vital for your entire life. And leaving your kids dependent on a teacher at the front of the classroom telling them what they need to know and how they need to learn it, it's handicapping them. It's not helping. We have more access, as I've said a million times, we have more access to information now than at any point in human history and less ability to actually use it. With the availability of free information, the only thing that's lacking is the ability to process new information, to know what information you need to focus on, how to integrate that information, and how do you drink from a fire hose? The amount of information on the internet is overwhelming if you don't have a way to process it. And that's what I'm trying to do with the Gateway Method. And the more input I get from you guys on what's working and what's not working, the more I'll be able to refine and revise and improve the Gateway Method itself. The thing that I've really learned during this coronavirus shutdown is how dependent I am on feedback. I find doing these kinds of videos really difficult because I don't have anybody to talk to. And I never really realized that when I'm in a class with 30 kids, one kid asks a question and gets me going. But then everybody that participates directs the course of the conversation. They keep me on track, they keep me focused, and they keep it lively and interesting. It's not as lively and interesting when you're talking to yourself and reading off a bullet list. One of the things that I think is the secret behind the Gateway Method and why it works is that it teaches learning skills through a series of simple mechanical steps that anyone can do. Like, it's really, really basic stuff. I'm hoping later this week to post a video on building your academic toolkit. I've got all the pieces and parts. I just have to actually sit down and shoot the video. I kind of have a problem though because my video editing software is gone. So until I get new video editing software, it's going to be a little more talky and a little less produced. But my wife tells me it's better when it's not so produced. So you guys let me know. What do you want to see? This year on my website, gatewaymethod.us, I'm going to be posting content on a weekly basis as much as I can manage it. And over the course of the year, I'm going to upload help guides and check sheets and a variety of things that I think are going to be useful. And I'm going to go through the entire Gateway Method, all 12 skills and strategies, one piece at a time. Now, it's going to take all year to do one component per week. That's assuming I can get one per week actually done. But hopefully, by the time I'm done with this, I'll have something fully fleshed out that's really helpful. My brother keeps telling me that I need to come up with a crowdfunding source so that I can make a living doing this, but I'm not convinced that there's a living to be made. Right now, I'm just trying to maybe get some local tutoring clients and maybe get a tutoring business off the ground, but mostly I want to try to help as many people as I can. I'm not trying to get rich doing this. I'm not even trying to become independently wealthy or self-sufficient. I'm honestly trying to serve. I'm trying to help people break free of a system of dependency that I see as tremendously damaging to the entire American Republic. One of the big things that the Gateway Method does that I really see lacking, and I believe is the core of the problem that we're dealing with right now, we develop critical thinking and creative problem solving skills, again, through a series of simple mechanical steps. It's not just about processing new information, it's about training your brain. Again, I've written articles about it and I've talked about it at length on some of these videos. But the Gateway Method isn't just about taking notes and scoring well on tests. It's about gaining knowledge. It's about turning information into intelligence. It's about the physical manifestation of a cognitive process. It's about making your brain work better. And when you're younger, your brain is so fluid and so plastic. It's really pretty easy to learn new skills and change the way you think and the way your brain works. So a lot of the Gateway Method is brain training. It's developing critical thinking and creative problem solving skills. Y'all, when I look out across the political landscape and I see what's going on, and I see the arguments that are being made by full-grown adults on national news networks, it is staggering how poor some of these arguments are. It is mind-boggling how politicians can say the most outrageous and ridiculous things and be taken seriously by adults whose job it is to know better. I mean, politicians have always lied, but the lies now are so egregious. And the only justification that I can imagine for why they're able to get away with it is because we just don't teach critical thinking and problem-solving skills in public schools. We should, but we don't. So that's another thing that I'm trying to address. And it's part of me, here I am, the Mr., Savior of the Republic. Really, I'm just trying to help. Finally, the thing that the Gateway Method does that I think is really important is it helps teach you how to create a collaborative learning team. There are places where I've talked about the difference between collaboration and cooperation, where I've talked about the difference between an argument and a conversation. Are you having a conversation or a confrontation? And I'll get into more of that as the year goes on and I kind of get to that point. It's a process. It's kind of step by step. And if you follow the steps from the easier, more mechanical skills into the more complicated, more cognitive skills, when you get into the cognitive skills, the physical skills have helped to train your brain so that you're better able to engage in those cognitive skills. It's a process, and if you follow the process step by step, it's a benefit. I've taught for 15 years, and I worked with really great kids that worked really hard, and I worked with them for 4 years at a time. I carried 2 different groups of kids from freshman year all the way to senior year, training them in these skills and strategies, and I've seen how year by year, step by step, these skills build, and somebody that started out as a freshman who didn't even know hardly how to write their name on their paper end up as a senior that is an exceptional creative thinker, problem solver, and information processor. And I want to do that with more people. I'd like to have a bigger impact, but I need your support to do that. Thanks for listening. I appreciate your time. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at TheMister, at Mister's Homeroom. Leave comments or questions below on this video, and I'll try to address them as I can. Like my Facebook page, The Mister's Homeroom. Make sure that you like, share, and spread the word. You can also visit the website at gatewaymethod.us. There's no www, it's just Gateway Method, all one word, .us. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the bell so that you get notifications when I upload new videos. Share those videos on your social media and help me get the word out. I'm the Mister, and I'm just trying to help.